Guys, welcome back to my channel. So as you know that I have been covering the 5 days of the AI agents course fully, and now it's time to build the capstone project. So I've already explained the base of the capstone project, in which I've explained how I would be building this project, what agents I'm going to use, and how my UI or the Streamlit front end would look like, and how my MCP server would be behaving. So I've discussed everything from start to end in this video. So if you have not watched this video, just watch this video before this so that you can understand what am I trying to do basically. So let's move on to our anti-gravity without any delay to build the capstone project. So let's move on to our anti-gravity to build our capstone project. So before, typing this command directly here, I have typed my command on a notepad, because if I by mistake also, if I will press enter here, it will just, execute the prompt. So if you are writing prompt directly here, just press shift enter to move to the next line. And I would suggest you to just write the prompt into the notepad so that it's easy for you. Now I have already written the prompt as it's a quite a long prompt. So I will just explain this prompt here and will give the command there. Okay. So I've given a basically a role based prompt. So in this I've tell him that you are my coding agent. Build this as a real project in the workspace, not as chat only code. And then I've given the project name. So I'm giving the project name as the Chef AI recipe generator. Then I've defined the goal, which is to create a beginner friendly Streamlit app that takes the ingredients inputs from the text and uploads the file and generates a fun recipe card. As I've discussed in my previous video, that I would be making a Streamlit dashboard in which I would be having an input text box where the user can input the list of the ingredients, or can upload the .txt file or the .json file, and the uploaded file would generate a recipe based on the input contents, and then it will show you as a fun recipe card with the quirky names. Okay, so the important execution rules I have defined that also, that I want to create an actual file in the workspace, which is the project folder. Sometimes it gives the code in the chat only and does not implement into the folder. So I've specifically said it that create the actual file in the workspace or the project folder. Do not only print the code in the chat. Okay, so and I've also said that if files already exist, update them. Sometimes it creates new file, and your more credits are used for your account, and as a result your whole day credits or whole week credits gets exhausted. So I specifically said it that if files already exist, update them. And I've said that keep code simple, clean, modular, and easy to understand. And I have also specifically told it to use a plain Python function and short doc strings. Okay, and no external API calls. And after creating files, show only the final file tree, files created, and the exact command to run the app. Okay, and any missing dependency or the setup node. Now I have defined the folder structure of how my folder should look like. So it should have a app.py file, MCP server.py file, ingredients file, recipe files, separate narrator, security, and then the requirements, readme, and the sample ingredients, just to test the UI. So this file name I've already mentioned also in my previous video, and explain each and every agent in detail, like what I want my each agent to do, what this ingredient agent will do, what this recipe agent will do. So I will not waste time in explaining these agents once again. Now let's just move on to next, which is the project requirement. So I have also given it the requirement that I want to build a Streamlit UI in the app, and the title would be Chef AI ingredient recipe. Then I wanted to add a text area, which would be the text box in my Streamlit file, in which the user can enter the ingredients. Okay. Then I want also a file uploader in which the user can upload either a .txt file or a .json file. Then I also want a button. So I've defined it that I also want a button to generate the recipe, and also display errors nicely if the input is invalid. I have also told it that I want to know the specific error also if the input is invalid or any some error, but the displaying of the error should be nicely done. And I have also told it to display a final card, and I have also uh, dictated the contents of the final recipe card, which was a fun title of the recipe. It would give a very unique, a fun title to my recipe. Then the ingredients, then the 3 to 4 steps, with the serving, tags, and some emojis. And I've also added a fun part to it, that is a small floating emoji effect at the top using the simple HTML and the CSS via the st dot markdown. And I've told it to keep the UI neat and minimum. Then it's the most important part, which is the security.py file. I've created 3 functions basically. That one is the is allowed file, that if my uploaded file is not in the .txt or .json format, it would display an error. Then I've told it to sanitize the text, that is to remove any HTML script like the content and trims the white spaces. This is basically needed when you are uploading .json file, because it contains, white spaces which can confuse my LLM. So I've already sanitized the text. And then third is the validate ingredient list. Basically, it should be validated at least, the ingredient list should be between 1 ingredient to 30 ingredients. And if the number of ingredients exceed, that is, if the number of ingredients are more than 30, then it won't work. It would display an error. And it says that every ingredient is a non-empty string, that if my ingredient is not present and there's just a blank line, it would display an error. That I've specifically mentioned that every ingredient is a non-empty string, and it returns true if valid, and false, then it returns the error message. Then I've also, defined how my ingredient parser agent should look like. So I have described its behavior, that you should, split the ingredients by commas and new lines, and you have to lowercase everything, trim the spaces, remove the empty values, and normalize the simpler plurals. For example, if the tomatoes are written, you should understand as tomato. If the onions are written, you should understand in the singular form, that is the onion. And you have to remove the duplicates per, but preserve the original order. The order should not be hampered. The order should be same as before. Okay. So I've also described the recipe agent, with like how I want my recipe agent to behave. I want my recipe agent to return a dictionary which have the following keys, which is the title, servings, ingredients, steps, and the tags. Then I've also defined it behavior, that I want a simple rule based logic only. For example, if pasta is present, generate a pasta style recipe. If rice is present, generate a rice bowl style recipe. If lettuce or cucumber is present, generate a salad style recipe. Otherwise, you can generate a mixed veggie skillet or like simple home style dish, and you have to create like 3 to 4 short steps. And the title should use available ingredients, which is the tomato. So, pasta, onion, rice ball. So, the title should have something which is used as an ingredient in order to understand, the recipe easily. Okay. So, I have also told my recipe agent to create, to behave in a way that it should display the servings, that can be 2 by default. Even if the user wants more servings, he can just import it. Okay. So the tags can be simple, like quick, vegetarian, and easy. Then I've also created a narrator agent whose behavior would be to convert the recipe title into a fun title. For example, chef's special tomato pasta, and add emoji to the steps. And also, it should add a cheerful short note, and it should return a dictionary which displays display title, ingredients, steps, servings, tags, and the notes. Then I've also created the MCP Server agent, and as I told in my previous video, that it is basically the manager. It does not know any quick cooking. It can just, give commands and decide the order in which the agent should execute. So this is a lightweight orchestration module, not the real network server, and it should create. And the behavior of it should be that it should first sanitize the text, then it should pass the agent, then it should validate the ingredient list, then generate the recipe, then narrate the recipe, and then return the final output dictionary. Okay. And it should raise a clean value error message for the invalid input. Then now I've also made one more, that is a sample ingredients.txt file, in which I have put simple contents like tomato, onion, pasta, garlic, and olive oil. Then I have requirements in which I have told it that include only the needed packages at minimum, and the Streamlit. That, like, I've specifically told it to not to include any packages that are not needed, and one readme file which has a simple project title, features, the file structure, how to install, how to run, sample input, short explanation of the architecture, and the flow would be the Streamlit UI, security, parser, generator, and the narrator. And also define the code style, which is beginner friendly, short functions, clean naming, no unnecessary classes, minimal comments, and type hints where simple and consistent formatting. So I've basically, like described each and every term which I have mentioned in the folder structure. I've like define each and every agent or the file, what I want in that file, how the agent should behave, and I've like described it all in very simple language. So like after writing these files, do not paste all code, show the final tree list of created updated files and run the command streamlit run app.py and write a short note if I should open the project folder first. So I have just designed this specific prompt to create my chef AI agent. I will just copy this and paste it here so that it can execute. So the basic idea is that you have to first define the project structure. Okay. You have to first give it a name, then the goal of your project, and spend some time in brainstorming the folder structure. And then each file which you mention in your folder structure, you have to define what you want inside. Like if it's an agent, define its behavior, how you want it to behave, or what work it needs to do. And then if it's a normal file like the .txt file or the .md file or the readme file, you have to define the contents, like in which order you want the contents and how do you want the contents. And like if you are making an app which with the help of Streamlit UI, then you have to describe the whole app, how you wanted it to look. And also I would suggest to write a code style which is beginner friendly, so that folder is like easy to understand, your code is easy to understand, and your folder remains clear and clean and crisp. Okay, so now let's just accept all the commands. Okay, so see, it has built the project in no time. It was just because of the prompt which I gave, which was very detailed, that it built my project in no time. Okay, so I will just cross this everything and I'll just run my project. Okay, so it has created my project in just, I guess, 2 minutes. I'm not cut any part of the video just to show you how fast it is. Now let's just run this. First, just explore, install the requirements. Okay, no such file or directory requirements.txt. Okay, so the name is changed basically. Okay, so let's just copy this. It has also changed the name of my folder which I created. So I'll just navigate to this folder first. Okay. Okay, so I've navigated to this folder. Now just paste this pip install requirement and it will execute. Let's just keep this here. Okay, so our requirements has been created. Now let's just run the app. Let us first install all the requirements. It's basically creating a virtual environment. Okay. Okay, so it's given me error that object not found, command case exception. Just copy this, paste it here, and hit enter.
So I've asked for a URL from the agent itself. So just type URL in the chat and hit enter, and it will give you a URL clicking on which you can access the front end UI.
So we have. So this is a recipe generator. I have made it intentionally very simple. So I have input just 4 ingredients so that it can generate recipe. And when I will click on this generate recipe button, and it will generate a recipe. I have not clicked it intentionally now because I've already clicked it before just to make sure that my quota is not exhausted while making the video. Okay. So I'll just, so it had just generated a simple recipe card which had the list of ingredients and the instructions, and I have told it specifically that I want only 3 to 4 steps in my instructions, and it has also told us that it's for the 2 servings, and it had some tags which is a pasta, dinner, and easy. I have specifically mentioned in my prompt that I want the servings, the tags, ingredients, and the instructions. And the instructions should have only 3 to 4, the lines only. Okay. And it has also given me a short note at the end, which is bon appetit. Enjoy your delicious AI generated way. So this is a very simple, chef AI in which the ingredients are inputted and we have the recipe which we can generate. You can also, test it with file upload option. You can upload a file and the file should be in .txt or the JSON format, and just click on this recipe generate.
Now I wanted to add more functionalities to this, like it should tell the protein or the nutrition content in each ingredient, have shopping list and many more. Let me show you the demo. So in my next upcoming video, we would be just enhancing our present chef AI and making an advanced recipe pipeline in which we would be having allergy safe common substitutes, the side dishes which you can have, the nutritious content, the beginner tips, the cooking time it would take, the shopping list, the leftover and the storage option of how you can store and everything. So just stay tuned for the next video. It would be fun, believe me. Till then, like this video, subscribe my channel and do not forget to hype my video. Meet you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.